Hello everyone, and thank you for clicking on the Literacy Volunteers of Harrison County YouTube channel. We're a nonprofit United Way agency, and we would love for you to subscribe to our channel. Just click on the subscribe below, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. We talked about the desert biome, places where people live, animals live, plants grow. And today we're going to look at where we live here in West Virginia. It's called the Temperate Deciduous Forest, or sometimes you might see it called the broadleaf forest. Talking about deciduous and broadleaf are both talking about the types of trees. We'll look at it here in a minute. Deciduous forest grows in areas where there are 4 clear seasons: winter, spring, summer, and fall. Most of the eastern half of the United States is in the same biome, and then if we look around the globe, much of Central and Northern Europe, Eastern China, and Japan. Those would all be temperate deciduous forests. Here are some of the key characteristics. We have long, warm growing seasons. So we would look from spring into summer, into fall. We have a long period of growth before the leaves start to change, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There's a lot of moisture, high amount of rainfall, right? Rich soil that's provided by the leaves dropping from the trees. When the leaves start to change color and then they die, they lose their chlorophyll, they drop to the ground. That dead leaf cover is called detritus, and many species live in that detritus, and they function as decomposers. So they break those dead leaves down so we can get the nutrients in the soil from them, which gives us rich soil to grow the plants in. I'm stuck here. The tree leaves are arranged in strata, meaning, like when we talked about rock, we talked about the strata of rock in different layers. That's what strata means. So at the top you have the canopy, right? Like kind of a canopy bed that goes over top. And then the understory, the next trees down, and then little shrubs, and then things that go on the ground. So if we look at that as in layers, we can think about the sun at the top. And so those canopy trees get the most sun, and it filters out some, which then the understory filters out even more, and then the shrubs, and then the ground. So a great deal of light is filtered out before the light reaches the ground. Trees will stop photosynthesizing and enter a dormant period during the cold months. The average daily temperatures in the temperate deciduous forest is between -22 and 86, which this has changed a little bit, but our yearly average temp is around 50 degrees Fahrenheit and about 30 to 59 inches of rain a year, which is a lot of rain. Yes, on the last lesson we talked about adaptations, and I wanted to look again about adaptations. Remember, those are those evolutionary constructs that help things to be able to survive. So deciduous leaves drop, right? Trees lose their leaves. If we look at coniferous trees or conifers, those are the ones that have needles, right? So these have leaves instead of needles, and you can go outside and look and see that for yourself. If you look at an oak tree, a maple tree, whatever type of tree, those have leaves that they're going to lose during a period of time in the year, not needles like you would on a pine tree. We talked about stomata the last time. Those are those little openings on the bottoms of the leaves that allow for the gas exchange between carbon dioxide and oxygen. Also, we have flowers that developed to seeds, right? We have little seeds within flowers, and you have pollen within the flowers and things like that in just one season. So we don't have to wait. We have a flower that goes to a seed that the next season will grow again into a flower, right? Those are some examples would be like acorns. You've seen acorns or chestnuts. Those are just big seeds if you see an acorn or a chestnut. And then those little winged seeds, sometimes you see them, they're called achenes, but you see them in the flying around, little helicopters, little kids call them. When the cold season arrives, the chlorophyll is broken down, so no more green in the leaves, right? When it starts to get cold, and that's what determines when the leaves change, the temperature. A lot of people think it just occurs in the fall. Well, it depends on when the temperatures start to cool down. So that's broken down, and the waste products that you get from the decomposition of the chlorophyll remain to color the leaves. Those things are called accessory pigments. There are things like carotenoids, the same pigment that makes a pumpkin orange, or the xanthophylls, those make them red. And there's different types of those that allow for the leaves to change color, and then when those finally leave, they die and fall off of the tree. Some trees trees have adapted strategies that are similar to the conifers, to the pine trees, right? They're green all year long, and what allows them to stay green is they have sort of a waxy coating on their leaves and fewer stomata on the bottom of their leaves, less exchange of the gas, the carbon dioxide, and the oxygen. We do have conifers in most temperate forests. They're just not the most abundant trees, but the advantage of that is the needles protect against the cold and they can protect against drought. So we're looking at, those are some of the adaptations to those different types of trees. The animals also have adaptations. Hibernation is an adaptation for these animals to be able to survive the cold weather. If you're in the desert, it never gets cold. You don't have to hibernate. But here, certain mammals will have to hibernate, right? They live in burrows or caves. So during the winter time when it's cold outside, and they accumulate a bunch of fat, like bears will go and eat and eat and eat and eat, sometimes tens of thousands of calories a day to get all that body fat. So when they go into that dormant state, then they can live off of that body fat, the accumulation of body fat. Or some animals also will start storing food in the summertime and hide it away in their burrows, so when they're in there during the wintertime, they have something to eat. That's an adaptation, right? Because they would die if they couldn't do that. We also have what are called mutualistic relationships. Mutualism is something like that. It can be positive or negative, like parasitism, things like that. But in this instance, this is beneficial for both of them. So animals will help to spread the seeds of plants, right? Animals might run through the forest, and as they run around, they will pick up a seed. Squirrels and acorns, they pick them up, they may carry it to another tree and drop it elsewhere. That helps the plants to be able to disperse, right? And in turn, they live off of the fruits, the bark, and the leaves. So those animals may eat those fruits, right? And you get seeds in the fruit, they can't digest them. So when they eliminate that from their body, the seeds are in that, and then they spread that around as well. Animals in turn can be kept from eating too much of those plants and getting sick, which would kill the animal, right? And they have defenses such as thorns. You've all seen thorns like on a rose bush. Thorns are one of the adaptations of plants to keep the animals from eating them. We talked about the cactus and the needles. Or toxic chemicals. Some plants produce toxic chemicals, just like fungi. Some fungi produce hallucinogenic chemicals, toxic chemicals, and things like that that would keep those animals from eating that certain amount. You should never go out into the forest and pick something and just eat it if you don't know what it is, because it could contain a toxic chemical that you don't know would hurt you. So we're going to look at some pictures and a little bit of video that goes along with the temperate deciduous forest, and we would love for you to give the video a thumbs up and share it with your friends.